Hi, everyone.
Hi.
We're going to be talking about the process of implementing a DRO. So that stands for differential reinforcement of other behavior. So why would you go for a DRO in some type of behavior treatment? The answer is usually because you want to reinforce the lack of a behavior. And that's hard to do because you can't necessarily reinforce a student for not doing something. But what you could do with a DRO is choose an interval, and when that interval goes by without the behavior, you can reinforce the lack of the behavior. Obviously, this should probably come together with lots of other types of treatment, so it's not just giving reinforcement for not doing something, but at the same time, you'll be teaching lots of functional communication and lots of replacement behaviors, but you also should have something in place for the lack of a negative behavior.
So like Shira said, obviously we're going to be teaching some type of alternative behavior in the meantime, because if we don't, some other negative behavior is going to pop up. So we need to be able to deal with that function. But also with a DRO, what we can be doing is setting a timer for a specific time interval and then reinforcing the absence of that negative behavior. So how do we set the time interval? What do we do? The very first thing we do is we baseline. So what we want to do is we want to baseline not only how long the negative behavior lasts for, but how long the negative behavior doesn't last for. So say for instance, we're baselining silly behavior. We define silly behavior as arm flapping and giggling. And if our student, is arm flapping and giggling, we can obviously baseline how long that lasts, but also I want to know how long in between intervals that lasts. So, he is arm flapping and giggling almost the entire session right now. But usually in between intervals, it's around 4 minutes. So there's my baseline. I've baselined it over a few days and I've taken the average of that. So my average, sometimes, my learner goes 10 minutes without engaging in silly behavior, and other times my learner goes 30 seconds. But the average of that is 4 minutes. So that's where I would start my DRO, is 4 minutes. So what I would do is I would set my timer for 4 minutes, and when my timer goes off after 4 minutes, if my student has not engaged in any negative behavior, I'm going to reinforce for the absence of behavior. So I'm going to give a token, I'm going to give a preferred edible, a preferred activity, some type of praise, whatever my student is motivated for, that's what I'm going to do. If my student does engage in negative behavior during that 4-minute interval, I'm going to stop. I'm going to redirect the behavior according to whatever treatment protocol I have. I'm also going to reset the timer so the timer doesn't keep going. I'm going to reset it back to 0, and he's got to go for an entire 4-minute interval before receiving reinforcement. Now, there's obviously a data sheet that goes along with this, and we track it as well, and we'll record that in a separate video, but this is the data sheet that we use for that.